Welcome to Tricks of the Trade. Today we're going to be discussing a lot of the products that you see here on the table, from bleaching to dyeing black and liver dogs to using a one-tube nose product on the nose. We are going to begin today by mixing our dyes. This is Black Velvet number 51D by Clairol. This will be for our liver dog. Coffee Brown number 57D by Clairol. Again, these are professionally formulated products. You must go to a beauty supply outlet store to buy these. The dyes that you find in a local grocery store or drugstore are not the right things to do. You cannot take a shampoo in product and use them correctly on these dyed coats. We're going to begin by mixing our coffee brown. This is our liver solution. Now, all of these are formulated in such a way that you want to mix 50-50 volumes. One little secret when you're using these products is that you need to let them sit for a solid 20 minutes after you mix them. Too many people want to mix and directly apply them to the coat, and then they get a zebra or striping-like effect. That's why. Let them sit. Okay, there's your liver dye. Now, equal parts of your clear developer. You don't want to use a cream developer in bleaching or dyeing your dogs. I took the liver dye product out of this container, so I'm going to use the same container to measure an exact equal part of a clear developer number 20. The brand name does not matter on this. You don't want to use a 30 or 40 volume developer. The 20 is what works on the texture of a dog's coat. Now that is exactly an equal part there. You always want to use plastic utensils and containers. Metal or steel will stop the chemical reaction of the dyes. You want to mix this well, and then we're going to let it sit for about 20 minutes before we apply it on the dog's coat. That's your liver dye. Same with the black. Going to mix it half and half. Here's your volume 20, your clear developer. Now I've changed bowls and I've changed utensils. Of course, you don't want to carry a liver utensil over to mix a black dye. You're going to change the color. Mix that well. Now we're going to let that sit for 20 minutes. We're going to be working with the black dye first. On black dogs, two essential things may happen as the dog gets older. Many times when you're doing the clipper work here, they will eventually, as they get older, start to grow back white or grizzle gray through the top of their ear. A lot of black dogs, depending on how old they are, may even have white hairs or silver hairs throughout the top coat on their back. Many dogs, too, have white markings or patches throughout their back, and if you find that for some reason you don't like the effect that it gives when the dog is standing or walking around, we can take care of that too. Now, first thing you're going to want to do, just in case any of this black dye accidentally falls into the white, I like to protect the white coat by simply taking your basic shampoo product and shampoo. The shampoo that I'm putting in the coat will help seal this coat, so if by accident you drop a little bit of dye out of the bowl off your hand while you're applying it, it's not going to go onto the white. If you do this in the bathtub, which is where I suggest you do this, if for some reason a little bit of the dye drops off onto the foot of a dog or the white of a dog, just take your hose in the bathtub and hose it off right away. If you seal the coat first with just your standard shampoo, don't use a bluing shampoo to do this. The bluing shampoo will be on too long and you're going to end up with a nice black dog on top and a purple dog on the bottom. Just use regular dishwashing soap or regular shampoo. I have a dishwashing soap in this mixture. All right, now we're ready to go. Now on her, I am going to dye out the white spots on her back. Sit down. So that's where we're going to go first. Sit. Sit. Simply with your hand, and always wear gloves. If it's going to dye hair, it's going to dye your skin. Put on these nice little disposable gloves. Just dab it in here. It's like almost a pudding mixture at this point. It's not going to go anywhere. With your fingers, work it all the way through the coat down to the skin. Now we are working on a dog that is just naturally dirty. She has not had a routine bath in about a week. You don't want to bathe the dogs before doing this. You want just a natural coat. I did put her up on the grooming table before I started this, and I just brushed her out. Now, if you are covering up open white areas or spots, you're going to want to put this dye on fairly thick, fairly heavy, working it in through all the layers. We're going to leave this on for 30 to 50 minutes, depending on how this dog's hair takes to the dye. On a black Springer, you can effectively cover these white spots to where it is virtually non-detectable. The nice thing about using professional dyes is that it's permanent. It will not come off when you shampoo it. It will not come off on anyone's hands if they happen to just go by and pet or stroke the dog. This will also last a solid 3 weeks, and then as it starts to grow out, you can just kind of spot it. She is also not tightly scissored in on her back. Last time she was groomed was about 2 weeks ago, which is a good amount of growth. You don't want to do this on a dog in the rough either. You want to have the dog semi-prepped on the top coat. Now, if she was an older dog with a lot of gray and grizzling in the back that you want to cover, you would take the same technique with your hands, and I like to call this just feathering it in. You simply take your hands and you feather the top of the coat. You don't have to work this in through the layers down to the skin like we did on the white dots. Now you can also do this, which I'll show you on the liver dog in a moment. If we wanted these white spots to remain, you can avoid the white spots. Don't apply anything like Vaseline. Don't try to put the shampoo on the white spots. If you want the white spots to stay, but what you're trying to do is get the white or grizzle out of the coat, simply paint the coat and go around the white spots. This will not run, this dye will not run into the white spots. And you can feather it off, going into the feathers, down the tail. It will not leak or run into any of the white. I'm going to go back, put a little bit more on the white. I know years ago I saw a dog with a big triangle white down the center, and the people were able to effectively cover that, and the dog was gorgeous, solid black. Again, if you have an older dog and you just don't happen to like the gray or white that's coming into the dog, the ears you're going to do last. The ears take really quickly. I would do the tops of the ears and leave this mixture on for about 5 or 10 minutes. So you would put this on first, and again, we're going to be leaving these dots go for approximately 30 to 40 minutes. Then if you wanted to wait about 5 or 10 minutes, do the top coat to take out the grizzle or the white. And then the final 5 minutes while she's in the tub, go ahead and do the tops of the ears. Sometimes you can even get sun bleaching on these blacks. And then pull the dye into the ears, and you would just work it into the coat just as I'm doing here. That'll be fine. I can show you more about doing the tops of the ears when we get her over to the bathtub. I'm going to let her stand on this grooming table for the processing. Now, when you're working with the liver or brown color dyes, I have noticed that they don't need to process as long as the black. So we're not going to be leaving these products on quite as long as you do the black dogs. Now you can see on her, she's got your typical sun bleaching on the ears, sun bleaching here on the side and the top coat. And that's all we're going to simply do with her, is to restore her natural color. We're not going to change the dog's coat color. And on the liver dogs, you do not want to try to take any of these liver dyes and cover up a white spot. You cannot cover a white spot with the liver dyes on a liver dog. It will always show through some of the white. The blacks it works, the livers it doesn't. All you can do here is simply restore this dog back to its normal natural color and get rid of the sun bleaching. Going to apply a shampoo product on all of the white to seal and help protect the white. I'm not going to take the shampoo into the shawl. The shampoo and the water will leak into the top coat. Just leave that alone. We'll take care of that here in a different way in a minute. Going to take a towel. We're going to fold this towel lengthwise, the long way, one fold. We're going to wrap it around her neck, pull up the ears, and directly under the throat, we're going to place a pin. Now, this will cover her white shawl. This will also keep any of the dye mixture from falling onto the throat once we do the ears. So also help anything that may drip off the ears from going down the legs. Obviously, it's going to drip on. Again, you absolutely positively need to wear gloves so that you don't get all dyed. I also like to wear old smocks and old clothes to do this. If any of this dye gets on clothes, it's going to be a permanent stain. Again, she was not pre-bathed. All I did was I took her. She hasn't had like a bath in 4 or 5 days. I just brushed through her slightly. Her back is going to need a longer time to process than her ears. The ears take to the color very quickly. Again, a lot of times on these liver dogs, as they get older and you do a lot of clipper work here with your 8, 9, and 10 blades, this is eventually going to grow in a gray or a silver color. Also on your older veteran dogs, some of the liver spaniels start to get a lot of grain and grizzling through here. These liver dyes are excellent in just simply restoring and blending in more natural coat color. We're going to start, just put it on your glove, and this is a dry surface. You are not going to lift the coat. You're not going to scrub this down to the skin. We're not trying to cover up or change coat color. All we want to do is simply restore the natural color of the dog. I'm just going to paint the surface like I'm feathering with my fingers. Now this dye, once it goes on the coat, will not leak. It's not going to drop off. So if you want to, you can get it fairly close to the white. I wouldn't put it right up against the white. I might leave yourself a 1/4 inch seam all the way around here. I don't find that it bleeds. This is the worst of the sun bleaching down here. So again, very gently, you do want to feather this as if an artist was taking a paintbrush. I have tried the brushes that the professional beauticians use. I don't like using the brushes because I don't feel like I have enough control. I get a lot better success because of the pressure I can feel with my fingers just blending it in on top of the coat. You want to feather it down along this seam here. Again, she has not been trimmed this week. If I want her to look her best, let's say over the weekend, on a Saturday for instance, I would probably do this on Tuesday, which would allow me to dry her and towel her, show towel her overnight. And on Wednesday, if any of this dye washes down into the white of the leg when I go to rinse her out. Some dogs are prone to that, some aren't. I think it depends on coat texture. It also depends on whether the white of the leg has been processed prior by bleach. This dog has not had any of that. Some dogs will rinse clean, some won't. So if I do this on Tuesday, on Wednesday or Thursday, then I can put her back in the tub. I've got plenty of time to bleach out her white. You don't want to do this on a trimmed coat, because if any of this does fall somewhere where it shouldn't, you have enough rough hair there to take your thinning shear and shear it off. We're going to do the entire top coat. Now, here's a pretty good example of a white spot. I have not put any shampoo. You don't want to put shampoo on these white spots on their backs. The shampoo will drift or bleed into the liver, and then you're going to have a very obvious lighter colored orange around that white spot, and it's going to look terrible. Just gently feather this in. It won't absorb or bleed into the white. And if this is an untrimmed top coat, about a week or two's worth of growth, it's perfect. Because later when we go to finish her off, when you thinning shear all of this, it'll blend and look beautiful. Get it as close as you can. Don't be afraid to go up close. Ideally, you'll want to turn her around and do the other side where you have more control and you can see her. I am going to take this here and feather down the rear. Here, let's turn her around a little bit. Now, as she goes up against the enamel tub, some of the dye may go up against there, so make sure that you're not pushing her white up against the enamel tub where some of the dye is. You just have to keep a lot of control when you're doing this. I'm going to feather the pantaloons. Feather the top of the tail. Right on the surface. All the sun bleach is on the surface. You don't need to lift up this coat and go underneath. Besides, if you lift up, most liver springers have a lighter colored undercoat. So this is going to look far more natural, and you won't be able to detect it on the coat if you simply leave the undercoat the color as it naturally is, even if it's lighter than what you're doing on top. The dogs naturally have a lighter undercoat. They're not going to be the same color the whole way through. Now, I'm not taking this so thick that I'm plastering it over her. If you look here, and I'm hoping that the camera work can pick this up, you can almost see 2 or 3 different color grains. See how you can see some of the natural lighter coat color streaking through here? That's perfect. That's what you want. That's good. Trust me, at the end, after she's all brushed out and dried, and the thinning shear or the stripping work is done again on her top coat, all that's going to blend in and look very natural. All we're trying to do is get the sun bleaching out. There's the white spot. Just leave it. Don't leave a big area of undyed liver around here thinking that you're going to be paranoid to go up against the white, because then what's going to happen, it's going to be real obvious that this is all sunburnt and then suddenly this is all dark again. It's going to look horrible. Just take your finger and paint right up to it. Now for this much sun bleaching, I'm probably going to let this process for about 15 minutes. Now, a lot of times, again, depending on the dog's coat texture, when you're putting this liver dye on, after it's on for 3 or 4 minutes, especially when we do the ears here in a bit, this liver dye may turn black and look like it's black. Don't be upset by that. This is much, much darker right now in this bowl and on her than what it's actually going to end up being. The color that it's going to end up being once it's dry in the coat and all finished is your natural liver color, which is about the color at the top of her head. It's a nice medium warm brown. It is not going to be this dark. It looks this dark because it's wet right now mixed. And when we put it on the ears, some people have complained that after putting it on the ears for 2 or 3 minutes, it actually starts to turn a dark, dark black. People get upset, they get paranoid, they freak out, and they immediately rinse the ears out thinking that, oh my God, my dog's going to turn out with dark, dark, dark black or liver ears, and the rest of it's going to be this natural medium warm color. That's not true. If you rinse it out too fast, there'll be no processing. You'll have no color at all, and then why bother? We're going to leave this on for 15 or 20 minutes. In 10 minutes, I'm going to come back, and then we're going to apply the rest of this dye to the tops of her ears and the fringe. This will only need to stay on 10 minutes. This will need to stay on 20 minutes, so time yourself. I don't want to put this on at the same time because I don't want to process these ears for 20 minutes or they will be too dark. And again, while I'm here in the tub with her, you can't walk away from these dogs. See how she's pressed up against the tub? Now if she were to turn, she could get that against some of her white. So I just need to be patient and stand with her. Okay, the back has been processing now for about 10 or 12 minutes. If you can see this, because I can see it standing here, this liver dye has now turned almost black on her coat. That doesn't bother me. Now, again, just as we did before, I'm going to do the top of her ear leather. This is typically where that silver gray starts to grow in on the top. And if you want to, you can just gently, the top of the skull, feather this in over the ear so that there's a gradual blending. Her eyebrows are a little light, that's fine. We're going to leave that alone. Looks natural. Feather it into the ear. Then I'm going to take the dye and work it in to the lower ear. The ears do not take as long as the top coat to process. It's a different kind of hair. It's much softer. It's also older hair. The hair on the top coat, you keep rolling when you scissor it and you work it with a thinning shear or the stripping knife. It also grows out, sheds, grows out again. These ears, the hair that they grow on their ears is forever. This is old hair. It's dry, it's brittle, and it will take to the processing much quicker than the top coat. See, I've worked that in. You don't want to glop it on where it's falling all over the place. This stuff will go right in and absorb. And again, this will turn almost black as it sits here for the next 5 minutes. You'll want to do both ears. The top coat has been processing for about 20 or 25 minutes. I've gone ahead and left the ear on for 10 or 12 minutes, and as you can see here, this is practically black in color. Don't let that worry you. I'm going to rinse the dog out now. Make sure that you're working in a tub that has pretty good water flow. A good water pressure at the nozzle is good, and a slanted tub, just ever so slight, so that everything that falls off the dog immediately runs into the drain would be good. I'm going to leave the wrap towel around her. Always check your water temperature. You want cool to lukewarm water. You don't want to scald the dog with hot water. I'm going to start immediately on the top of the back, and then I'm going to work on one side only. Try not to get that side with water. I'm just going to work on this side thoroughly first, then I'm going to turn around and do that side. I'm leaving the head and ears on for now. Remember that her white legs have been soaked with shampoo. Now look, see that? Even though it rinsed into the white wasn't affected. It looks very natural. down the sides, out of the front leg. Now see, it rinsed onto the front leg, but look, it comes right out. Down the tail, down this back leg. Don't scrub it into the white, just simply lift up the white and let your water get it out there. Don't go scrubbing it. Underbelly. Front leg again, just to make sure that it's out of there. Okay, now we're going to turn her around, get it off the tub on that side. Now we're going to do the other side. It may behoove some of you to rinse the left side of the dog off before the right, so you have more control of the rinsing and the dyeing that's falling into the white of the dog. If you want the left-hand side of the dog to have the least amount of runoff with this dye into the white, you may want to rinse that off first. The right-hand side of the dog is normally not so important in appearance. We never did get any up around the shaw, so that's fine. I've left this towel on. Leave the towel on so that as this falls off, little bridge over her ears and down her ears. Again, put a cotton ball in her ears so that none of this water can get down to that ear canal. Certainly don't want this dye running down the center of her ear. Rinse out as much as you can. You see your rinse water running clear, then you've done it. Done as much as we're going to do. Take your basic detergent shampoo first. Don't go into your fancy bluings or bleachings yet. There we go. Now it's getting a little bit more out. And get the rest out. You cannot shampoo the permanent dye out, so don't think by leaving some of it in you're doing yourself any favors. You're not. Alright, now everything's rinsed out. You can remove the wrap towel. Now we're going to shampoo this dog normally, like a regular bath. I'll probably shampoo her twice. This is a nice time to just use a bright or possibly a white shampoo on her legs. I don't like the purple and the blue shampoos. I use a nice clear white shampoo product called Kennick. Just bathe her as usual. I'm going to bathe and shampoo her once or twice, and then we'll come back for the conditioning treatment. I finished bathing her twice. Now it's very important to processed hair that we recondition the coat and the skin. I've taken 1 cup of the concentrate of this particular skin conditioner and diluted it into a gallon. Going to rock it back and forth gently. If you go like this, you're going to make too many bubbles. We're going to start straight down her back, and I'm going to work this into her coat. If your dog has a lot of feathering, this is a nice time to just take this in a concentrated form with your hands and work it into the feathering. I'm going to pour this on. Don't use it on the ears. I never like to use any cream rinses or coat conditioners on the ears because it makes the ears too greasy, and it's nearly impossible to shampoo it out. You're just going to have greasy, greasy ears. Even if you've dyed your ears, don't worry about them. They'll be fine. I'm going to work this in. I'm going to allow this to stay on her for 2 or 3 minutes. All right, I'm going to rinse this conditioner out. Now, one of the really nice things about this particular product is in that diluted form of 1 cup to a gallon, you can pour this onto a dog's coat and skin and actually leave it on, which is really nice. Right now, I'm going to use it not only to recondition the coat, restore some of the natural oils back into the skin and the hair. I'm also using this because I tend to have very hard water here. This will give me one more opportunity to make sure that I've gotten all the dye off of the dog. It will also help me get all the shampoo residue. The shampoo may adhere stronger to the coat now because it's a processed coat. So this particular product really, really helps. This is going to be done on a Tuesday. You're going to towel her, as you do, with a normally wrapped towel, and then she can run around your house or go in a crate. She needs to wear her towel all night, or certainly for a few hours until she's completely dry. This would be a nice opportunity if your dog has full furnishings, nice long leg hair and belly coat. After I get this completely rinsed out, since we're going to be doing this on a Tuesday or even a Wednesday, this is a really nice time to take the diluted cream rinse, pour this into the feathering, going to pour it on, and we're going to leave it on. Many times, just to condition my dog's coats, I'll pour a little bit down the back. I can even do a little bit of that on her today. Now I'm just going to leave that product right on. We're going to towel her like usual and let her dry for a couple hours or overnight. We're going to be bleaching next. And like we did with the dye earlier, we're going to mix the bleach and we're going to let it sit for about 20 or 25 minutes. We are going to take a glass or plastic container, no metal. Same thing, it does interfere with the process. You're going to mix equal parts of the white powdered bleach with the volume 20 processor. Now, unlike the dye, when you're using this bleaching product, you have to use this in a well-ventilated area. If you're indoors, you're going to have to set up a room fan and constantly keep the air flowing while you're mixing this, while you're using it, and while it's on the dog. This stuff can get nasty. So we're going to mix this equal parts. The dog that I'm going to be working on needs the forechest and all four legs bleached out. So I've taken a cup of the bleach with a cup of the volume 20. If you're just going to be doing a dog's face or just a little bit of work on some of the legs, you would not need to mix as much. Mix it well. You can see right now, really soupy. In about 20 minutes, this will thicken up like a pudding, and that's when it'll be ready to be used. Okay, while we're waiting for the bleach to process, this is a nice time to show you another little trick of the trade. This is a product called 1-2. You can buy this product at any show vendor. You can also get it out of a wholesale catalog company. What we're going to do here, this is a very typical summer-winter nose on this little bitch. Right now we are in the summer months and the pigment in her nose has faded to a light gray, white, or pink color. All these solutions is ferric subsulfate and tannic acid. If you're in a pinch, you can go to your pharmacy and look up. A lot of the liquid poison ivy treatments have one of those two in it. You can also talk to your pharmacist about ordering and getting one of these two for you. You never want to mix the two. You don't want to touch a rag or a Q-tip to the number 1 bottle and having that number 1 solution on it, transferring it over to number 2. As soon as the number 1 chemical touches the number 2 in any volume, it will instantly start the chemical process that makes it black. Keep all of your utensils separate and keep all of your bottles and supplies separate. It's nice to have 2 people to do this because 1 person can hold the dog. Obviously, while you're doing this, you don't want the dog to be licking its nose. we're just going to take a regular paper towel. You don't want the tongue to come out, especially after the second solution is applied, because the tongue then will turn black. I'm just going to dry this nose. Now, as quickly as possible so that the dog isn't uncomfortable. Most dogs don't like to be restrained in this way. We're going to take a Q-tip. This is the number 1. With a Q-tip, you are simply going to paint the nose. I'm going to lay that separate. You want to blow this. I'm going to blow on this nose and get that number 1 solution dry with a separate Q-tip. I'm going to take the clear bottle Mark II. We're going to go over the surface of the nose and paint that. You obviously don't want to get it on the hair. If some of the seam is not black, that's okay, because it's a very natural color. You know, it's natural to have pink inside the nostril too. And again, blow on the ear. I've seen some people take cornstarch or powder and then powder the nose afterwards. I've never felt that was necessary. After it's dry, you may want to just dab it slightly with the towel. And you can see now it's pretty dry to where it's not even coming off on the towel. I just recently heard about a new product that's in a tube that you flip both directions, and it's called the Nose Nose. And that would be the same thing. It's ferric subsulfate on one side and tannic acid on the other. This does not hurt the dog. It does not hurt the skin. If you color the nose in this way, this will normally hold color on the nose for 3 or 4 days, sometimes longer. Doesn't hurt or harm the dog in any way. Just want to make sure that it's completely dry before they start licking it with their tongue. It's pretty dry. There you go. Summer nose to a black nose. To prep the dog for bleaching, again, you don't want to have the dog bathed. She was bathed about a week ago. This is just natural dirt and staining. You want to just flip through the coat, knock the dirt out. The only thing you have to do to prepare this dog is in sections along the side, going back to the little bands that I showed you. Same little dental bands. Take these bands, wrap up the side coat in sections. Straight across, either on a liver dog or a black dog. I'm going to get this all up out of the way. I'll do 2 more sections through here. I'm going to go back here to the pantaloons, and we're going to band all this up. Dry, dirty coat. You do not want to cut this dog's toenails before bleaching the dog. You expose the front quick of a nail to this bleach, and your dog is going to stand and burn the whole time it's in the tub. This processing is very hard on the skin, much harder than dyeing. And on exposed skin, this bleach will burn. So you don't want to do the toenails. You want to get all your solid coat up out of the way. After I get all this pinned up, then we're going to go over to the bathtub and begin the bleaching process. All right, in addition to banding up the sides and the pantaloons, I've gone ahead while I've had her on the tub and I've banded the top of her ears together up here. Don't band the leather, just band the actual hair. Now remember the bleach, how liquidy it was? Now see what it's done in the past 20 minutes. It's like a thick pudding. Real thick pudding. Just like with the dye, we're going to pick it up in our hands and you're going to feather it over the top of the coat. don't scrub this in. You don't necessarily want this sitting against the skin. Most of the staining of this coat is right on the surface, right on the top, whether it be from clay or dirt, urine stains. You can work it into the feathering here on the side, that's fine, but don't be scrubbing and working it in against the skin on the front of these legs, because I don't want it to burn the skin. You want an open window, you want a fan blowing fresh air the whole time you're working with this. Carefully painting it down all your front. You're working with a dog that has not been trimmed in about 2 weeks. Again, you want to do this on about a Wednesday or Thursday. If you want the dog to be pretty for a weekend event, or just give yourself 2 or 3 days. Certainly put it on the brisket. Now, a lot of times if you own more than one dog, you'll find that the dogs are licking each other's faces, or if the dog had a bad eye infection, it gets stained on the face. You can use this at that time too. Again, the little pantaloon area, especially on the girls, does get some urine staining down in here. Same thing applies. You can take this and run it on the inside of that pantaloon area to get out the urine staining back here. That's fine. Front of the leg, feathering at the front. Now, what I'm going to do next is actually very simple. Don't worry if you get any on the coat. You've got a rough top coat. Anything that drips on the surface of the coat you can get off later. It will turn brown or black, a burnt shade of yellow. Taking a Q-tip in the mixture, you want to paint this up, the blaze of the dog, just on the surface. Again, if you're very careful here, you won't have any problems. Again, like the dye, this will not bleed into the dark coat beside it. Where you put it, it will stay. Then with your fingers, you can go on the muzzle. If you have some freckles or ticking or dot on the muzzle, do not put this on it. It will change the color of the dot or the ticking. A lot of people have had success by taking Vaseline and dotting Vaseline on top of the ticking on the foreleg or here on the muzzle. That keeps this bleach from adhering to the colored section, so that when you rinse the dog out, the freckle or the ticking remains the same color as before. Right on the surface. Don't need to scrub it in. It's best not to let the dog lick this. If it gets some of the peroxide, remember that's basically a developing peroxide is what that volume 20 is. If they lick too much of the peroxide or breathe too much of it in, it will induce sometimes slight vomiting. Some dogs may throw up, so don't feed your dog before you do this process. Best to have it on an empty stomach. If the dog throws up, it's certainly not going to hurt it, but I just wouldn't let it lick too much of this off. A processed coat will need a lot of environmental conditioning. You can't put this dog back out on a cement run to run in its urine. Once this coat has been bleached or stripped, it's now a processed coat, and it will actually stain easier now than it ever has before. So this dog will need to stay in a lot of cornstarch. Do not use any kind of powder on this dog for conditioning this coat or whitening this coat. You can only use cornstarch. That will actually bring the natural oils back into the coat. After we rinse this out, we're going to give this dog a regular bath, and we're going to soak it again, probably in concentrated Unicure. Lightly rinsing that out, and then I'm going to towel the dog overnight. Alright, I've been standing here actually watching this bleach work. If you stand and watch, you will see it turn from the staining and take that staining right out before your eyes. It's like magic. When you get to the color that you want, or you see the clarity in the coat that you're after, that's a good time to go ahead and rinse it off. Cool to lukewarm water. I'm going to rinse off the stuff from her face first because I'm sure that's the most aggravating to her. Of course, try not to get it in her eyes. Just rinse it off of her coat. After I rinse this out, look at that. After I rinse this out, I'm going to give her a normal bath. I'm going to condition the coat exactly as I had done in the dyeing section. We're going to leave some of the diluted conditioner right in the white and the feathering overnight while she's wrapped in her towel. Now, one thing that I do want to show you real quick when you're taking these bands out is that you don't want to tear them out. Take a forceps or a scissor, pull them out gently. If you have a heavy coated dog, take a scissor and cut that band out. Don't tear these out. I'd rather lose the rubber band than lose precious furnishings. So just take a scissor and pop them out. All right, we're going to rinse this out. We're going to give her a normal bath, normal cream rinse, towel her. She's bleached and ready to go. Well, here are our two dyeing girls after they've had their towels taken off and they're dry. This is the black and white bitch that we worked on, and here's our liver and white bitch. Now, as you can see, we haven't done anything more to their white furnishings. This is how nice and white they turned out after the dye actually ran through their coat, was rinsed out and conditioned. On the liver bitch, this is the ear that we worked on in the tub, the finished ear. And this was the original color. Quite a difference. And this is how well it covered the back of this dog. And here's our finished liver bitch. This was the finished ear. This was the original color of the ear. Quite a difference. Finished side work, and even the white dot turned out beautifully. Thank you all for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video, and our Springer Club plans to bring you many, many more. I have thousands of hours of people watching these videos, which makes us very happy. But our Springer Club could use the revenue with all the hard work we put in. So please subscribe to our channel, and if you would like to support us, please go to PayPal. The address is listed here. Thank you again. Bye-bye.